Hello friends, welcome to GIS classes, and today we will study the part 1 of Morphology of flowering plants. The plant body, basically the plant body composed of root system and shoot system. The root system composed of primary roots, secondary root and tertiary roots. Basically it penetrates the soil and absorbs water and minerals, and it also stores food, while the shoot system produces sugars by photosynthesis, and they also carry out reproduction. The shoot system composed of stem, leaves, flowers and fruits. What are roots? Roots are basically the direct elongation of radicle, which leads to the formation of primary root and which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral root of several orders. Here you can see this is primary root, this is secondary root and this is tertiary root. Basically there are three types of roots. Taproot. Taproot system basically occurs in dicot plants, and it has primary root and its branches which has primary root, secondary root, and they occurs in mustard. The next example is of fibrous root. The fibrous roots occurs in monocots. Basically, for example, you can say in wheat, here the primary root is replaced by a large number of roots. Now the third type is adventitious roots. Basically the roots which arises from other than radicle. So the taproot system and fibrous root system, basically they arises from radicle, and the adventitious roots basically arises from the parts other than the radicle. So the main function of roots are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, and they provide a proper anchorage to the plant parts, and storing reserve food material and synthesis of plant growth regulators. Now there are three regions of roots: regions of meristematic activity, regions of elongation and region of maturation. The region of meristematic activity, which is a zone of cell division, it has root cap. The region of elongation, here elongation takes place. In the region of maturation, here you can see there are root hairs. Now the modification of roots, basically they are modified for support, storage of food and respiration. So some modifications are prop roots. Basically they occurs in banyan tree. They provide additional anchorage and support. Here you can see they provide additional support to a plant. The next modification is of stilt roots. Basically they occurs in monocots, for example in maize and sugarcane. Here you can see they occurs from the lower node of the stem. So this is an example of stilt roots. Now the third modification is of pneumatophores. They occurs in rhizophora, which grows in swampy areas. Here many roots which comes out of the ground and grow upward like this, and it helps to get oxygen for respiration. So basically these roots are modified to undertake respiration. So the next modification is of storage. There are multiple storage examples, like you can see the taproot of carrot, radish, turnip, and adventitious roots of sweet potato, in which they get swollen and store food. So this is an example of conical root. This is carrot, and this is an example of conical root. Now the next example is of radish. Here you can see this is a form of fusiform root. Now the third example is of turnip. Here you can see it has taken a napiform form. And the last example is of adventitious roots, which occurs in sweet potato. And here the plant, you can say that the roots get swelled and they store food. Now what are stems? Stems are basically the ascending part of the axis, bearing branches, leaves, flowers and fruits, and it develops from the plumule. So the roots develop from the radicle and the stem develops from the plumule of the embryo, and the stem bears basically nodes. This is the nodes from where the leaves are born, and the internodes that are between two nodes. And the main function of the stem is spreading out branches, bearing leaves, flowers, and fruits. The main function of stem are conduct water, mineral, and photosynthetics. And some stems perform the function of storage of food, support, protection, and also vegetative propagation. Now the modification of stem, basically they are modified for storage, support, and protection. So the modification of stem, basically they may be underground stem, for example in potato, ginger, turmeric, and zamikand, right? So they used to modify them for storage, right? So the next example is of stem tendrils. Here you can see basically they develop from the axillary buds, which are slender and spirally coiled, which help the plant to climb. They, for example, they occur in cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon. So the next modification is of thorns, which are axillary, arises from axillary buds of stem and may get modified into woody, straight, unpointed thorns. So thorn is an example of stem. Need to memorize this. Now, so what are the leaf? The leaf is a lateral, which is generally flattened structure, which is born on the stem, and it develops at the node. You can see this is a node, and it bears a bud in its axil. This is axil, and the axillary bud develops into a branch, and the leaves originate from shoot apical meristem and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are mostly vegetative organs for photosynthesis. And the parts of leaf are like leaf base, petiole, lamina, blade. You can see these are veins. This is midrib. This is called tip. Now what are venation? Venation are basically the arrangement of veins and veilets in the lamina of leaf. So basically there are two types of venation. One is parallel venation and second is reticulate venation. The parallel venation occurs in monocots, where the veins run parallel to each other and there is no network formed. So they occurs in monocots. So the next is venation pattern is of reticulate. Here you can see the vein and veinlets are network. They are like forming a network, and they occurs in dicots. Now the types of leaves. Basically there are two types of leaves. It may be simple or compound. Simple leaves, basically they are made up of single leaf blade which is connected by a petiole to the stem, and for example you can take an example of an oak leaf. And the compound leaf, which is made up of separate leaflets attached by a petiole, right? And they may be palmate compound or pinnate compound. The palmate compound, you can see the leaves are arranged like a palm, and in pinnate compound they are in a opposite manner, and this is called rachis, and these are leaflets. Now what are phyllotaxy? Phyllotaxy are basically the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. So basically they may be alternate. Here you can see the leaves are alternately arranged, and the next is opposite. Here the leaves are opposite to each other. The third one is whorled. You can see these are whorled or are growing in clusters. Now the modification of leaves. Basically they perform the functions other than the photosynthesis. As you all know, the leaves perform the function of photosynthesis. So these modifications perform functions other than the photosynthesis. So the first example is of tendrils. These are example for climbing, as in peas. So the next example is of spines, which occurs in cactus, and they are basically used as a defense mechanism. So, and the third modification is of fleshy leaves of onion and garlic. You can see like these are fleshy leaves, and basically they stores food. Thank you. Hope you like the video.